We are live on this beautiful Friday the 13th, year of our Lord.
I didn't realize that till now.
Yeah, do you do anything to celebrate?
No.
Oh, yeah, that was just a trick question.
I celebrate Saturday the 14th by working.
I got you. So, we have a very special guest today, Kenny, on the board. Do you know why he's special?
They're always special.
Well, he is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God.
Absolutely, he is.
But because he's here, we have for the very first time a verse of the day, a Bible verse of the day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Do you know why we have a Bible verse of the day, Kenny, on the board?
Well, I would hope it's because he's a Christian.
No, it's because we're Christians. I mean, he is too, and this is Christian radio, so we should have more Bible verses, right?
Absolutely.
Do you know what the Bible verse of the day is?
No.
Well, you should know because last week...
There's so many verses that are so good.
Yeah, last week, they're all good. They're all
Yes.
good, Kenny, on the board. Surprised you don't know that.
I do.
last week, you wore a do-rag in honor of us talking...
Technically, it's more along the lines of a skull cap, which is a biker's thing.
Yeah,
but whatever.
because we were talking about gangs.
Yes.
This week, and this is foreshadowing for our listeners, you came in and you were ready. You're wearing a pair of sweatpants that has a giant wolf on it, I believe.
No, last week was a dragon. This week is a wolf.
Yes, this week. That's what I said. This week.
Oh, okay.
This week is a wolf. We're going to be talking about animals.
Oh, good.
Yeah. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it.
Yes.
And our Bible verse of the day is Proverbs 12:10. A righteous man cares for the needs of his animal. Do you follow Proverbs 12 verse 10, Kenny, on the board?
If you ask my dog, he's going to say, no, I want more treats.
So those of you who listen to KELP, which I hope is all of you on Saturdays, sometimes you can hear Kenny on the board's dog, Teddy, barking in the background during our live shows.
Sometimes.
But Kenny does care for his dog, Teddy. So we know at least that according to Proverbs 12 verse 10, Kenny on the board is a righteous man. So our guest today...
Hey, got it right.
Yeah, our guest today is a doctor of veterinary medicine, and it's been fun because people have been asking me this week, who's coming in? Who's coming in? And I give them the name, and like everyone in El Paso knows this guy.
Wow.
Literally everyone. He's a true son of the borderland, born and raised in El Paso, went to Burgess High School, class of 67, right here across I-10 from the KELP studio, graduated from UTEP in 1971. Don't want to date anyone, but that's kind of...
I was 3.
Kenny on the board, come
I
on.
don't care if I'm dated.
Be polite to our guests. Graduated from vet school, Texas A&M in 75. Total veterinary experience, 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he's now retired, but he was a vet tech for 2 years, vet school for 3 years, and professional practice all in El Paso for 45 years. And he started out as a mixed practitioner, domestic and agricultural, but then drifted into small animal practice for most of his practice years with an emphasis on dogs and cats, which I'm assuming is because there's not a lot of agricultural animals in El Paso, but we'll have to dig into that later. He's the president of the El Paso Veterinary Medical, or was the El Paso Veterinary Medical Association from 1979 to 2018, the president of the Texas Veterinary Medical Association in 1999, and the governor appointment to the Texas State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners 2002 to 2007. He's the co-founder of the Animal Hall of Fame. He is he has a background in media. That's good.
Wow.
Right, Kenny, on the board? Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, so he had a program on oh no, I lost my spot. Pet Vet, weekly segment on KTSM Channel 9 from 1998 to 2005. And sometimes people come in, Kenny, and we get to know them a little bit.
Yeah.
And they seem real nice when they come in, but then you get to know them and you get a little afraid. And this
you
guy...
were afraid a couple weeks ago because the guy was a marksman and this and that.
Yeah, well, Brian Kennedy was a sharpshooter, yeah. But our guest today is a 4th-degree black belt in judo. He appears to be quite kind and benign, but don't cross him, Kenny, on the board.
But if you get out of hand, you're on your own.
And I was talking to Pastor Charlie Ariano. He's the executive pastor at Cielo Vista Church, and he said our guest today is a true student of the Word. And he serves as a Bible teacher at Cielo Vista Church, is active in discipleship ministry. So this is probably the longest introduction we've ever done. But today we're going to be talking about pets. We're going to be talking about animal care. So without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Dr. Guy Johnsen. Dr. Johnsen, welcome to 915 Talk.
Thank you. It's a blessing being here, really.
Yeah.
It really is. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, well, so good. We put out on our social media just questions for you, and we're going to jump into some of those here in a minute. Just as a reminder to those who are listening, you can also be watching. We are on YouTube Live. Just look for KELP Radio on YouTube, Facebook, KELP Christian Radio. And if you have questions for Dr. Johnsen about animal care, you can put those in the comments, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. But when you came in, you said, let's talk about the first year of your pet's life.
Right. I think that's the most important thing that people need to realize is that the very first year is probably where they need to concentrate their investment in their pet. And that means that you need to find, just like we have to find a primary doctor that kind of works as a network for us to shove us out to specialty groups, you need to have a veterinarian right away. You need to incorporate a veterinarian in your pet's life because they notice things early on and they can help you with nutrition, they can help you with behavior training, they can help you with the concept of how to vaccinate and to probably help the reproductive area by spaying and neutering.
Well, that's interesting. I've never thought of that. Go to the vet even if your pet is healthy.
Yes.
That is probably the most basic thing, and I've never thought of that until you just said that.
We're pediatricians as well,
right?
You see, so we take care of them from the neonatal all the way through to the end. So it's to the geriatric end of their life.
Right.
So the reality is there's a real need. They would escape a lot of problems in this community because we have a high measure of parvo and distemper in this community.
What does that mean?
These are the puppy diseases.
Puppy diseases.
Yes, and they're young dog diseases, and they affect the unvaccinated especially. If they're vaccinated, then they're protected, and there are vaccines for this. So they should start their vaccines somewhere in the neighborhood of, and then they go for a series of 3 of those vaccines up to about 20 weeks of age. And then they get a rabies shot by the time they're 4 months of age by federal and state and city law.
Oh, so you're required to do some of these vaccinations.
Not the distemper and parvo, not the bordetella or those respiratory diseases, but the things like rabies. That is a disease that's called a zoonosis, which means it's spread from animal to man. So they have to protect the people from that particular disease.
Well, we have so much to jump into.
Sure.
But one of the things I do want to say, as we're trying to develop good habits at KELP, is the information provided in this broadcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and is not to be construed in any way as a medical or veterinary device. Always consult your licensed veterinarian before making any health-related decision, as every situation is unique. And this, so that's the main thing.
That's right.
Hopefully we will be able to provide some information, some education, but the only person who really knows the animal is the animal's veterinarian.
That's correct.
Yeah. So so that first year, there's a lot of vaccinations. Are there certain things that we should be looking for as far as symptoms, or don't worry about that, just go to the vet on a schedule?
Well, I think the symptoms are for instance, for parvovirus, which is a gastrointestinal virus, and it causes diarrhea and vomiting, and so it's a severe disease, and it kills. It can terminate 30 to 40% of the dogs that acquire the disease, especially if they're very young puppies. So it's a real heavy disease. Distemper is a neurological disease, and it is also transmitted as a virus. So it's something that can affect them and also cause the owners to have to euthanize to terminate the animal's life.
I had not even heard of those illnesses before.
And if people just if they go to a vet, and there's over 100 veterinarians in the El Paso vicinity, and there's approximately 44 clinics in El Paso throughout the city of
Okay.
El Paso.
Yeah.
So there's
There's
a lot
plenty.
of doctors here. 2 emergency centers here.
Okay.
One on the west side, one on the east side.
Okay.
That see after hours cases. And so you have pretty much care 24/7 in El Paso.
Okay, so one of the questions we got, so we're talking about the first year. One of the questions we received was about before you buy or adopt a dog, making that decision. And I guess the question really what was being asked is about the temperament. Do different breeds really have different temperaments?
Yeah, just like people have personalities and
Right.
temperaments themselves, they do have temperaments. And of course, animals are conditioned to a lot of processes, so they need to be socialized. And they start the socialization very early in life, within a few weeks of their life. For
Right.
instance, we're talking up to 9 months of age. But the very early years are their social years, so I mean social months.
Right.
So they need to be socialized with people, other animals. They need to be trained, and so it's very important that you just don't get a dog just to be a dog. You need to train them to be part of the family,
Right.
so that they have obedience training, that they
Right.
understand that they need to go outside of the house. And there are behaviorists here in El Paso, family pet.
Gotcha. Yeah, can any breed of dog be trained?
Yes.
Okay, because my mother-in-law has a dog, and she thinks that she can't train it.
Well, there are,
Do you think that's her fault, or
when I say any dog, I probably should back up and rewind a little bit and say there are some issues in some dogs that could have a neurological issue.
okay.
They've had some, disabling processes, a disease, or like distemper can cause some brain issues,
Right.
spinal issues. They may be disabled.
Yeah.
There also can have some mental changes in that case. So
Okay.
there are some that cannot be trained easily,
Right.
but most can be trained. There are animals, if they're not socialized by the first few months, then a lot of those dogs
wow.
end up becoming semi-feral dogs, not totally feral, but
Yeah.
they're just not really
interesting,
easily
yeah.
trained.
Right.
So
So if someone's looking for a dog that would be more easily trained, would you recommend a certain breed?
I think all of them are, I don't want to disparage any breed because,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, a lot of them have been disparaged, and most of that is due to actually training and things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of those animals just have not been treated according good. They just need to be trained, just like people need good parents. Community.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, there's so many things that I'm thinking of with this, but we did just get a phone call in, and Kenny on the board put the question up for me on the monitor. I had never thought of this. The question is there a chiropractor for dogs in El Paso? And I guess I didn't realize that was even a thing.
Well, there's some crossovers, unfortunately, there's some things going on at the level of the legal level that are, there's some chiropractors that want to get into veterinary medicine. Technically, that's not, you have to have a veterinary license in
Oh, so
order
you're
to
saying
work
like a
on
human
them.
chiropractor?
Yes, and they have done that. However, I think in Texas, pretty much so, that has not been legalized. They're not licensed to do so. If there is a direct supervision of a veterinarian with those chiropractors, human chiropractors, they actually can work on an animal with direct supervision with a veterinarian.
Is that common?
The veterinarians do learn chiropractic and holistic and
Yeah.
Alternative therapies. So there's a couple of veterinarians here that practice acupuncture. So there's a lot of holistic processes out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is if I guess a dog needs spinal alignment, you don't really need to look for a dog chiropractor. You just go to the vet.
Well, no, the veterinarian can, if he doesn't know chiropractic, you know how to do chiropractic ways.
Oh, he calls in.
He can call in somebody that knows, and under direct supervision, if that person has worked on dogs before, then that person can actually work on them. But a chiropractor can't set up a veterinary practice and do dogs and humans, you know, that type of thing.
Right.
So that's just not allowed at this point in time. But they do have they take courses in chiropractic adjustments in veterinary medicine, and some veterinarians have gone to chiropractic school and have gone ahead and gotten trained in animal chiropractic ways. So I don't know if there's anyone in El Paso that does that personally.
Yeah.
I've not heard of one that does that.
Right. That's fair enough. We're going to take, we have so many questions. I think we're actually going to take our first break a little bit early. And when we come back, we're going to get a question that Kenny on the board has about his dog, Teddy. Do not touch that dial. It's Christmas season. What does the coming of Christ mean to you? Pastor Christian Gurula of Mesa Place Church.
The coming of Christmas. As I was thinking about that, what came to mind was a song that was very popular some time ago, and we still use it during the Christmas season. And in it, John Lennon sings, "And so this is Christmas, and what have you done?" And then he continues, 1 year is over, a new one's about to begin. And then he says, let's hope it'll be a good one. And so from that aspect, what does Christmas mean to me? I don't have to hope by chance that something's going to happen. I have a real hope that tells me what's going to happen, and that is that God forgave me, He saved me, and I have a forever home with Him, and there is nothing that can separate me. But most of the world will say, well, this is Christmas, and what have we done? Like, what possibly can you fill in the time you have in a year to get God's attention? Nothing. And so what does it mean to me? It means He loves me exactly the way I am, knows who I am, and knew exactly what He bought when He bought me. I don't have to hope for a better year. I have a better already. And that is my hope for this coming year.
.915 Talk is listener supported. If you believe that local Christian talk radio is important to our community, please take a moment to prayerfully consider taking part. For all donation options, including secure online giving, visit kelpradio.com and click on the Cornerstone Broadcasting link. Let's reach our neighbors in the borderland together. And we're back. We are live with Dr. Guy Johnsen, now retired.
Yes.
Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, but with 50 years of veterinary experience here in El Paso. And one of the benefits for Kenny on the board at working at KELP is he can talk to our guests. And he had a question about his dog, Teddy. What was your question, Kenny, on the board?
So the question has to deal with allergies.
Humans can be allergic to be honest with you. And they can be tested for dogs specifically. And so most often you're going to see it head and neck, groin, and axillary, which we call the armpit area. And so they do have, if they're seasonal allergies, they may respond to antihistamines to start with. And some people use Benadryl, some people use Zyrtec, and there are some other antihistamines out there that you should ask your veterinarian which particular antihistamine they like to recommend. Then steroids sometimes are used, baths and stuff like that, to take the sensitivity away. They have some antihistamine in some of those bathing instruments as well. And so those are and you want to wipe your dog every time the dog comes in from outside, just to practice kind of wiping them off with a wet cloth, around the paws, over the back, maybe in the groin area, in and in the armpit area, maybe along the muzzle. Just wipe them off. You'll take a lot of those allergens off so they'll feel better. But if they get more chronic, then you're talking about more chronic needs for long-term. It's a camaraderie. I love science, the animals. I love to hear about how things are changing in medicine, and they're changing all the time. They say that knowledge multiplies, doubles every 2 to 3 years. So it's amazing how that happens. So it's really good to be amongst those that are being, the new, when I came out, I was happy to get a fax machine. We had no blood analyzers. We had single ocular microscopes. I mean, it just, you see, we didn't have computers.
Right.
And so
of
I
course.
went, yeah. So when I started, everything's, we had no cell phones. Okay. So
Yeah, right. Yeah.
it was all different.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a very different world back then than it is now, and you just enjoy continuing to be a part of that the community.
And I do a little bit of consulting work, and a little bit I work with animal services here a little bit with a group, and so they're important to me. I love shelter medicine. I like what they're doing, and they're doing a great job here. Dealing with that's a whole different scope of
shelter medicine
and just sheltering animals,
Okay.
it's a real important area.
Well, we'll talk about that just here in a minute. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Do not touch that dial. And we're back, and we do apologize to those who are on the YouTube stream. We did have to restart it. We are back on the YouTube, on Facebook. Just find KELP Radio, KELP Christian Radio on YouTube and Facebook. We are with Dr. Guy Johnsen. We're going to be talking about animal shelters. There's a question that just came in about dogs being fixed. We're going to get into those. But first, we have a new segment of our program. We're going to do a live traffic report. So, Kenny on the board, cue up Charlie 1. Charlie 1, you hear me?
I'm right here, Randy.
Yeah, Charlie 1, good to hear your voice. When was the last time you did a live traffic report on KELP?
I have to go back years for that because let me do something with my phone. Let me just do something with my phone because I'm getting some feedback here.
Yeah, I'm hearing that as well. Radio off. Kenny on the board's yelling, radio off. Are we good now? Oh, I think we just lost Charlie 1. Kenny on the board's getting him back on. This is a new segment for us. We're learning as we go. Yeah, just a moment. For those of you out on the roads, this is Charlie 1. How you doing? Charlie 1, you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Do you have your radio on, Charlie 1?
Well, what happened was, I had my phone on speakerphone. That doesn't sound good on speakerphone, so I took it off of speakerphone.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's still making the same noise, but what are you seeing out on the roads right now, Charlie 1?
Well, we have some congestion spots right now, and I'm talking in particular I-10 and Lomaland, and I-10 and Lee Trevino. What's going on right here is I-10 west of Lee Trevino, they take away the right lane for construction. Then Gateway west of Lee Trevino, they take away that entrance ramp for construction. Then I-10 east of Lee Trevino, the right lane is blocked. So that whole area there of Lee Trevino, Gateway, I-10 west, I-10 east of Lee Trevino, it's under construction. So you got some slow-moving traffic right there. I'm noticing that stop-and-go traffic right there. But aside from that, on the east side, Joe Battle, North Valley, and Montreux, this is a very busy intersection. We have a crash here. PD not even there yet, Joe Battle and Montreux. Then also, Lee Trevino and Montreux, another area, that crash happening. PD not there yet. At Northeast, PD working on a crash at Gateway South and Martin Luther King. Heavy traffic right there, Gateway South and Martin Luther King. So also US 54 South to the Watersport. You go to that Watersport, using US 54 South, back up to Yandell right there. So that's what's going on right now in traffic, Andy. Just busy traffic on the freeway.
Yes, it sounds like a busy traffic day. Is that construction around Lee Trevino just happening? Is that a long-term situation?
No, it started actually this morning at 8 o'clock. It should finish up any time now, but has not. It was supposed to finish up at 4. but it's still going on. Maybe it'll finish up, and maybe I talked to TxDOT right now. They told me about maybe 10, 15 minutes more of congestion. So it'll get better. Just give it about 15, 20 minutes.
All right, sounds good. And who is this traffic report brought to us by, Charlie One?
Well, it's Burrito Cafe, 3128 Traywood. They're open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner special, the Mexican plate, seafood, the 9 to 12 weekend buffet. Mi Burrito Cafe, 3128 Traywood. And Andy, it's interesting. You were asking me when was the last time that I did this live on. It's been a while. It's been years. I can't remember yesterday, Andy. So much less when I did the last one live.
Yeah, well, this is a lot of fun because I as a child I dreamed of doing a traffic report on the radio, and this is the first time I'm doing it. We'll have to figure out what's going on with the sound. It sounds a little bit off. Does your sponsor have Daily Menudo?
No, in fact, they might on the weekend. I'm not sure. They might on the weekend. But,
Okay. All right.
But yeah, it's live. You know, it's bringing this information to you live as it happens. So
Yeah.
that's what's going on right now, Andy.
All right. Appreciate it, Charlie One. We'll talk soon.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah. So that's Charlie One with the traffic report. We'll have to figure out what's going on with the sound. Fix that for next time. Do let us know on Facebook or through KELPradio.com or YouTube what you think of the traffic report. It is important to do it live because, as he showed, those things are happening regularly. Usually, Charlie One talks about Daily Menudo, and Dr. Johnsen, have you ever had Daily Menudo?
Not daily.
No. I was talking to Adrian, the new guy, yesterday, and he could not stop talking about how good Menudo is. And the one time I ordered it, they didn't have Daily Menudo. They had it only on the weekend. I was like, because Charlie Wood's always talking about Menudo, and I was like, I'm new to El Paso, I need to try it, and they only had it on the weekend. So that was Charlie One with the traffic report. I just had someone send in a message. The county is about to build a new animal shelter over the next few years that will hold several hundred cats and dogs. We were talking before the break and then even during the break about animal shelters. Dr. Johnsen, what's your view on animal shelters?
I certainly have. I really support the shelter medicine, and I really support what the shelters are doing in El Paso. And a lot of times they're getting a lot of bad rap, and I just would like people to maybe relax and try to help and maybe try to help with the solutions that they have. It's a hard job, probably the most difficult job in El Paso, I believe
Wow.
me, in dealing with pets gone wild and things like that. But they're trying their best, and they have been improving since the pandemic took a toll on situations here in El Paso, just like it did for everyone else. And now they're really making trends towards a real positive changes, and we're starting to see them working towards prevention of disease in El Paso. If we can get distemper and parvo, people to vaccinate for distemper and parvo, if they can do that and get their dog and cat spayed or neutered, that would help El Paso in the long run over the years as far as the numbers are concerned, because it's a numbers situation.
Okay.
We just get more and more out there. So if they would just take a responsible effort to vaccinate early and vaccinate their animals, that would help what's going on in the shelter industry.
Yeah, I think that is interesting. I understand what you're saying about some folks just having a bit of a I think it's fair to say, or maybe just dismissing animal shelters, not thinking it's important, not thinking it's worth investing money in. So what you're saying is just maybe just stop for a moment, reflect on it, meditate on it, just get to know what's out there.
Yeah, and consider adopting. Mm-hmm. Adoption is really important. There are a lot of animals that have been given up to the different rescue groups and to the shelters here in El Paso, and I just think it's a responsible thing to check them out and give a home to a rescue dog. I think there's something about when you rescue a dog from from a shelter. I think it's kind of a heartthrob
Yeah.
for all of us when we do that, because we kind of wear that badge. We kind of say, hey, I have a rescue dog, you know.
Well, I think for a lot of people, one of the concerns with a rescue dog or cat is the temperament.
Yeah.
And can you speak into that? Like what can be done, or
Most of the shelters and most of them are employing behaviorists, and I don't know what level of training they have specifically, but there are behaviorists within the fabric of the shelters that are testing the animals in specific ways to make sure they're not biters, that they're not over anxious, they're not separation anxiety type of cases, and those kind of. You can't run through all the gamut of all the different psychological issues that can happen, but being in a shelter is not where they need to be. They need to be out of there. So they try the first thing on their list is to get those animals out and adopted as quickly as possible, because that lessens the anxiety of being closed in a closed area.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, but they work on those animals, and we have walkers that go there on Saturday and Sundays and walk these dogs all over the place. We have a lot of volunteers that go in there and really help socialize with the animals. So it's really kind of a real mission, if you want to say something about that. And I really support what the county's doing. I voted for them as far as that's concerned, and I think that's really going to be a great effort. And I want to support them too, because the more we can help that industry, I think we should do it.
Love it. So I think I already know what your answer is going to be, but one of the questions that came in, I guess it was a phone call. Kenny on the board put it up on the monitor. About it says dogs being fixed versus not fixed. What are the health benefits? So spayed or neutered. What is your view on
different
that?
breeds, of course. Cats being neutered. Most every animal is just a better animal if they're neutered.
Okay.
And you're not dealing with some of the things that come along with the heat cycle and things like that in both dogs and cats. In cats, you get a lot less of the elimination for territorial purposes, where they urinate on, things that are vertical, and they have a tendency to mark territory. Male cats especially, but female can do it as well. Mm-hmm. So, and as far as diseases are concerned, we most dogs, if they've been spayed early, within kind of about 8 months, 8 to 9 months of age, we rarely ever see mammary tumors in those particular female dogs. But if they wait till they're 4 or 5, they probably have a 50% chance of having a breast tumor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are some things. They can have uterine infections. They can have those kind of. We've seen some ovarian, cancers, things like that can also crop in. So, but temperament-wise, I think it just makes for a better pet. To be honest with you.
Okay.
Being spayed and neutered.
Okay. So that's a pretty clear answer to that question. Before I forget, just with all the excitement of losing the YouTube feed and having Charlie One on, I almost forgot. So I do want to make sure to thank our KELP impact partners, Alamo Glass Pros, AlamoGlassPros.com. That's especially car windshields, but not just that. Check them out. Christian owned and operated. Living Hope Counseling Services. It's difficult to ask for help, but it shouldn't be hard to find. So we do have a great Christian counseling service here in El Paso, Living Hope Counseling Service. And Caring Companions, which is a home elder care service. The easy way to find all of our impact partners is just to go to kelpradio.com and just look for that impact partners section, and that way you can just find out some of these ministries and businesses that we're just starting to partner with. I hope that does become a much bigger thing, because we as the church, as the Christian community, I love the idea of us interacting not just on Sundays but throughout the week. Through business, through ministry, and even through pet care, as we're talking about today. Dr. Johnsen, we've talked about a lot of things today, and there are so many other questions we could talk about with pets. You've spoken really highly, it feels like, of El Paso. and you know what's going on around the world. You know how the world's looking at El Paso. What is one thing that you think that most people outside of El Paso don't know about this city?
Well, I don't know if I should tell them. Then they'll all rush over here, right? It's the people. Mm-hmm. You know, we just have a wonderful collaborative of cultures here.
Right.
I think I've followed sports pretty much all my life. There's not a group of people that come to El Paso that don't go away thinking they've been treated with the best hospitality ever. Mm-hmm. I think this is the most hospitable city in the nation, and I don't try to tell too many people how great the temperature is here because I don't want all them to come down on the winter times, from
Right.
their winters in the Northeast to come down to El Paso. So this is, how can you beat this climate here in El Paso? I don't see how you can beat that.
Right.
As far as get along, I told you about our association, and I want to give a shout out to all the people that work in the veterinary industry, the
Right.
receptionists, the technicians, and the practice managers that, they're the ones that do a really hard, they do the majority of the job inside. They're the ones that make us as veterinarians look good. So a shout out to them. Okay.
Right.
But as far as this town has treated me well. Mm-hmm. I've made a good living here. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the people. I did a family practice. They are family to me. Literally, their pets are family. Literally, they are my family.
Yeah.
And I run into clients all over the place, and I miss them dearly.
Yeah.
So I shout out to all my old clients out there. I want to say hi and thanks for everything you've done for me.
That's amazing. We had Linda Connor on Facebook. She said, "Oh my goodness, my pet's vet for many years," and she put that on Facebook a couple of days ago. Looking forward to hearing this broadcast. And
she's a great client.
Okay, yeah, and Tina, our office manager,
yes,
she was so excited to have you come on. I guess it was some years ago.
She took my receptionist place when she had to leave for a couple of weeks, and she came in and took her place for a couple of weeks. Yeah, she's a great sport too.
Yeah. She is, and I think she told me that she really enjoyed working with you, and she learned that probably working at a veterinary clinic is not for her. There's a lot going on, but she was living outside on the east side of El Paso, I guess, out in the desert at the time, and it was a coyote had attacked her dog and bitten it up, and she had come in, and you had taught her how to just dress the wounds, I guess,
right,
and take care of it. So I can only imagine all the stories of all the patients and animals, pets of 50 years. 50 years. Is there a highlight that comes to mind or a story or two?
Well, I can just tell a quick story. I was on 24/7. I was on call. I did emergencies as well, and I had two ladies bringing a dog, a little schnauzer that had a cut on its forehead, and I met them there, and so of course there's nobody else there but these two women and me and their dog, and so I said, I can fix this. But you'll need to help me. I need someone to just help hold the dog. So what I did is I placed one person there to hold the dog, and I got my instruments out, and I got the deadener to put into the cut so that dog wouldn't feel it. And so as I drew it up, I went over to inject the incision, and the lady fainted right in front of me. And so I caught her before she hit the floor, and she kind of went against the wall and slid down. So I took her out, and I put her out there, and I got a wet rag. Luckily, the dog stayed where it was. It was on the counter. And so the other lady was there with her, and I said, "Listen, I need some help." So she came in. I said, "Now you're okay, right? You're not going to have nothing's going to happen, right?" So I went ahead, and I had already gotten the wound kind of ready, prepped up, and everything. So I got my suture needle, and I picked up with my forceps one part of the skin on one side, and she fainted.
Oh no!
So
two in a row.
Two in a row. So I took her back in the back in the front there and did the same thing with her. And I went back in, and me and the dog took care of it. So I got the dog taken care of, and the dog was great. So
I mean, based on this story, it sounds like the dog had to drive the ladies home, right? It was the only calm person.
It's kind of like hitting a hole in one and nobody knows, so I have to tell the story.
That's so great.
Everybody, there was nobody there to witness what happened, but these
so
two
great.
ladies, if they're still out there,
Yeah.
Maybe they can fess up somewhere down the line.
That's funny. That is funny. Well, Dr. Johnsen, really appreciate you coming in today.
You bet. Really enjoyed it.
This has been, I feel like we just got to saw the tip of the iceberg, of course. So much more to talk about with pet care and animals care, but let's as a listening community, let's be mindful of the animals among us, because our verse of the day, Proverbs 12:10, a righteous man cares for the needs of his animal.
Amen.
Yeah. So thanks again for coming in. Just a reminder to our listening audience, you can find this conversation. It'll be available. All the links will be on KELPradio.com. Just look for that 915 Talk link. It'll be available in a couple hours, and you'll also be able to find all of our past conversations. And until next time, as we always say, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbor, and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk on KELP Christian Radio. To listen to past recordings of 915 Talk, just visit KELPradio.com and click on the 915 Talk link. Until next time, love your neighbor, love your city, and give God all the glory.